And we are live. Welcome to the CoppitCast, the podcast where we talk about gaming, things that interest us, and any other nonsense that we can come up with. We are joined today by Inferno. Inferno, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, Coppit.
Thank you for joining me.
Nice to be here.
Yes, it is. Remember, guys, if you do enjoy what we talk about or want to participate, drop us a comment, drop us a like. Remember to subscribe. Everything will be in the description. Anything that we talk about or channels that we talk about will be linked, so go and check those out. But otherwise, today's topic is really the sort of state of gaming in 2022.
State of gaming in 2022.
The state of gaming. So what do you think about the gaming industry as a whole? Are we sort of stagnating a little bit? Maybe we're not really getting the quality that perhaps we're used to.
Yeah.
I mean, what games have you played recently? Because I know that you play mainly on PC, whereas I play a little bit more on console. And there's different games play differently on different consoles.
That's true. My consoles are in England, so I'm not using them at the moment.
Well, there you go. But for example, racing games. I wouldn't want to play a racing game on the PC because the WASD doesn't give me as much sort of gradual feedback as a thumbstick would, for example.
You could link a controller to your PC.
You could, yeah. But not everyone knows how to do that, and
True.
It's probably not the norm, I would say. But sort of what games have you been playing recently?
Ooh, all sorts of different ones. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, gaming now is just great.
Are you quite happy with you're quite happy with sort of where we are?
Yeah, because I don't look into it too deeply, and all I have to do is compare it to the games that were available when I was younger.
That's true. If that's the yardstick, then if Pac-Man is what you grew up with, then
basically yes. I mean, we had a Spectrum. You could go out and pay £5.99 in pounds in 1985 to get a game which took you 15 minutes to load and sometimes crashed, and the graphics are awful, and it was short. Whereas now I can just fly through Steam and Switch games and things like that, and I can just go, like the sound of that, wish list. And my computer says to me, oh, you know that game you thought you liked? Well, it's on sale for 89p. And I'm like, oh, I'll buy it.
I mean, that's definitely... That's definitely far more efficient than anything you could probably dream of back then. That's for sure.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And, I've never played any of those big games where they're like, oh, but they want me to play microtransactions. It's like, well, I don't play any of them, so that doesn't bother me.
So you're sort of more of a traditionalist, you would say.
Yeah, and I do like the fact that there's so many more indie games. Just 1-2 people teams just whacking out games, because a lot of them are fun and cheap.
Do you think the indie games will survive as the economy sort of continues?
I think you'll just get more of them, because writing games is becoming easier and easier.
That's true. You sort of hear about people learning to code now. Maybe they're getting into sort of computer programming at a younger age. So that's certainly true.
Software used to cost a lot of money, but now you want to make something, you grab yourself Blender, it's free. Grab yourself Unity, it's free. Unreal Engine 5, I think, possibly is free as well. And and then you go on YouTube and you go tutorial. Fantastic, I've made a game.
Yeah.
It's it's all right there for you.
It's one of those things, isn't it? Because the pandemic really saw a lot of indie games go under. They couldn't really survive. They didn't have the bankroll that, the AAAs had. So you saw a lot of companies, maybe they just couldn't pay their developers. Maybe they couldn't pay the graphic designers, and a lot of them really did suffer because they just weren't getting the sort of traction that they were used to. A lot of these AAA companies could work remotely. They weren't always coming into the office, and I think that something like COVID really it sort of really affected the game industry, and I think we're still sort of feeling from it now. I've been looking forward to lots of different games. The only one that's really impressed me is probably Horizon, in the sense that sort of delivered what it was promising to, whereas we all know what happened with things like Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was just the biggest flop in the world, wasn't it?
Well, it was coded really badly, wasn't it?
Well,
I remember lots and lots of videos, of weird stuff that happened in Cyberpunk. Just physics just going completely wrong and characters doing the wrong things.
Yeah, it was one of the buggiest games, I think, at launch. I think, well, that's probably not true. It was one of the buggiest games for that price that we've seen, I would say.
Yeah, because it wasn't cheap, was it? Was it 35, 40 pound game or something?
Oh, it was more than that. It was like 50, 60 at launch. And
yeah, that's ridiculous.
That's
another reason, actually, why I like games more now. When I got my first console, all games were 30, 40 pounds. Now, as I say, I pick them up for 89p, £2.
I think
go to the cinema.
I think as well is the problem with Cyberpunk was so many people pre-ordered games, and it's one of those things, isn't it, where everyone always says, right, stop pre-ordering games, because when people deliver games, they're not finished these days. And of course, nowadays you can airdrop updates, you can patch things. Traditionally, you wouldn't have been able to do that, so you had to really sort of polish that game
make sure it worked
before launch. So I understand a little bit that when people launch things, there might be room for improvement that you can do down the line. But Cyberpunk was so broken, was so sort of misaligned with what was promised to what was delivered. I mean, there were features missing. You couldn't buy apartments. You couldn't go into things. The driving was horrific.
We want to put this in. We want to put this. We want to put everything in, and that's like feature bloating. So instead of putting all that stuff in, why don't you get a base that works, and then later add stuff? Instead of adding all of this stuff halfway, add half of the stuff all the way. And then later on, you can bolt on new stuff.
Effectively, that's what happened. Yeah. They promised so much, and they just couldn't deliver it.
It's happened so often now that if you end up buying a game like that, you're almost asking for it.
Yeah. I think I certainly don't really buy games at launch anymore. I try and wait a couple of weeks.
I tend not to.
And try and. I would definitely still pay full price if I really, really, really want to play it and I've waited a long time and the reviews match up with what I expect, then I'll definitely buy it.
I usually end up watching a video or two about the game before I buy.
Yeah.
Usually.
Yeah. Just because, you've got to be able to see some gameplay, you've got to be able to get some feedback.
Is this my type of game? It sounds great, but I'm going to watch someone play it. And then you watch someone play it and they're like, oh, it's good, but this keeps happening. And you think, oh, wait, I won't buy that now.
Yeah. I think people need to be a lot more careful these days with sort of where they're throwing their money at things. Especially because once you hit a certain age, I think your actual disposable time to even play games is so limited. You've got to be careful with what you actually spend money on, because you might not even be able to play that £60 game more than 4 hours a week.
I have got so many games on Steam and GOG. what does GOG even stand for? Galaxy of Games, maybe? Because they come up on my wish list. And like I say, I don't buy them. And then it goes, oh, it's only £1. And I buy it.
Yep.
And then don't get around to playing it. I think there's about, let's say, 74 games on my Steam library here that I've never played. Admittedly, some of them I guess they came in bundles of 5 for £2. 5 games for £2. It's like, oh no, I'll buy that. I'm gonna get £2 worth out of it.
What was the last game that you played that you thought, this is a really good game?
Ooh. That's a tough question. I suppose that depends on what type of games you like.
For you, what was the last game you played that you thought, yeah, this is the amount of time that I can sink into? Yeah.
Rather than just, okay, this is really good. I did like Breath of the Wild, but that's old.
Yeah. Are you waiting for a new one?
Skyward Sword. Oh yeah, I'll play the new one. Yeah, definitely. I've played I think I've played every Zelda game, so it's kind of.
I think Zelda's one of those franchises that will just never die because
you're relatively safe with it as well.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah.
I think.
Whereas something like Mario, don't get me wrong, Mario's good, but it's got so many games that are completely different. Yeah, Mario's in it, but it's a very different game. You might not like it, just because it's got Mario.
Yes, and I think it's the same mistake that Bethesda made with Fallout. Fallout was historically a very, very good game. Fallout 3 was really good. Fallout New Vegas was outstanding. Fallout 4, it started to drop off a little bit. It started to get a little bit sloppy. The story wasn't as diverse anymore. The choices that you would make throughout the game didn't really affect much. Whereas Fallout, that used to be sort of its selling point. You could make decisions that would affect the ending. Your different play styles would affect how the antagonists would speak to you and react to you, and you could join different factions and things like that. And that sort of dropped off with Fallout 4, and then Fallout 76 came along, and they tried to piggyback.
That was a bad one, wasn't it?
They tried to piggyback off the sort of always online mechanism, because that was so popular. So things like Fallout, things like Fortnite, and Warzone, things where you can get everybody online in a sort of lobby, and you can play multiplayer Fallout. But the problem was, again, the same thing as Cyberpunk. There were so many bugs and exploits, and people were hacking, and it's really one of those things where all it takes now is one bad game in a franchise, and people stop trusting it. People stop thinking, okay, I might not buy the next Fallout now because
like death.
Yeah, it really ruins it. It really ruins it.
Especially if you're paying a lot of money for it.
That's the kicker, isn't it? That's the kicker. And the worst thing is when you spend full price and then 2 weeks later it goes on sale for like 10% of what full price was, and you spent $60.
That's why I just wishlist everything.
Yeah. I mean, it's a solid plan. It's a solid plan. It makes sense. It definitely makes sense. If you can be patient enough to wait for them to actually become, so affordable, then that's got to be the game plan, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's what I do. I've got lots of games. Yeah, I wishlist them all, and sometimes it means I wait quite a long time. But I've caught up with my backlog, so a game that I want is always coming on sale. Because I've been wishlisting them for years. So there's always a game that I want that goes, and you don't have to watch videos on it to spoil anything. you can just watch one or two to make sure the game's okay. Or if the sale's good enough and you're paying almost nothing for it, hey, take the risk.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's that ratio of risk to reward, isn't it? You know, when it's something that's that affordable, you can probably get away with it. You know, and even if you can't, you're gonna buy something else for £2 that you are gonna get double the enjoyment from. So it works out.
Yeah, and usually what I do is I compare it to the price of a cinema ticket.
How much?
I can go to the cinema, and you say, I don't know, in cheap cinemas, maybe you pay £5, and that gets you 2 hours of entertainment. And if a game is cheaper than that, and I get more entertainment from it, it's worth it.
That's a win. And you get to keep it. You get to keep it afterwards.
And you get to keep. And there's very few games that are only 2 hours long.
That's true. Unless you're really, really good at them. I mean, if you're really, really good at a game, you can some of these indie games you can just smash through, can't you?
You can, but generally to get that good, you have to put a lot of hours in. Therefore, you've got your value.
That's true. That is the ratio that works out, isn't it? For sure.
Yeah.
But again, I think games where you can make an impact on the story, where you can make an impact on the ending, where your decisions really matter, I think those games have always been the better games. And I think in sort of today's gaming society, single players are way, way more popular than multiplayers. Way more popular. I mean, games like Elden Ring, Dark Souls, Horizon, God of War as well. God of War is going to be huge. I'm very much looking forward to the next God of War.
Yeah. I can't remember the last one I played, but I enjoyed that. That was on PlayStation 3, probably.
Probably God of War 3, which was, I mean...
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That was quite fun.
Yeah, I think single-player games are phenomenal. And yes, you might not always be able to play them with friends, but not everyone, especially as an adult, can actually sync up their time to play online together. You know, some people have kids, some people have different shifts in their jobs,
work hours.
Some people are in university and they're studying.
Different time zones.
Some people exactly. And I think
although it's easier now than when I used to do it with my friends, because what we would do is we would pack up our desktops, pile them into the car, take them all around to one person's house.
LAN parties.
Spend an hour setting up a LAN. There'd always be one person's computer who would not connect for any reason at all, and we'd spend another hour sorting that one person out.
Yep.
And so LAN parties, when you did have them, you all stayed the night and did it again the next day, because it's going to take you that long to set the whole lot up. It's worth your time.
Yeah, you want to get that reward back from it. Once you
hang on, we've just spent 3 or 4 hours, not including the packing up time and getting here time, just making all this work. Is it working now? Yeah, we've got time for one game.
Okay, yeah.
And then you just all stay up all night. You crash at about 9 in the morning.
Yep.
You get up again at about 12 and you just start the whole thing again.
Yep.
And you don't turn the computers off. You just
leave
them on.
No, they all stay on and you just continue to function. That's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens. But I think sort of today, gamers maybe get worse raps than they deserve. If you think about how back in the day, gaming was really just a hobby, wasn't it? You could play maybe a few hours a day. You'd go to the arcade. Maybe you'd win a few bits of money. But now, now you've got people making millions a year from esports or from being a professional gamer.
It's a job. Yeah, it's a legitimate job now. If you're good enough.
That's the thing.
Or actually, there's a lot of people who aren't good, but they're, I don't know, maybe charismatic enough that they make a lot of money through people using Patreon and stuff like that. Here's a quid from me, but they've got 1,000 people paying them $2 a month, saying, "Look, I know you're crap at games, but I love watching you."
That's the thing. That's the thing. If you think about, I mean, there's some 16-year-olds who are making millions a year from esports, whether it's things like Overwatch or League of Legends, or Valorant or whatever. I mean, their mum might work at Tesco or whatever, and has always said, "Oh, he's just playing games. He's being stupid. He's not doing it." And now he's earning $1 million a year. Like, are you kidding? Are you kidding? These used to have such sort of taboo, whereas now even universities are offering scholarships based on gaming. You can actually get a scholarship at certain US universities to be a gamer. You can be a gamer. I didn't
have that when I was young.
It's insane. It's insane. They have professional esports teams. They have professional esports leagues, collegiate leagues.
I would have gone for that.
And you can get a scholarship in your game if you're good enough at these universities. And all I can think is, well, firstly, I'm sort of happy about it. I think that gamers have always had a bad rap, I guess, and giving them that opportunity, because traditionally the gamers who are that good at the game usually aren't very good at social skills. They aren't very good at interacting with people. And maybe it's their only way they're going to get somewhere, Well,
I don't... That's a tough question. That's a chicken and an egg question, because someone that spends all their time indoors playing games, not actually communicating with face-to-face, it's not surprising that they're not as good at social skills. They're not practicing social skills. You get good at things by practicing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those sort of double-edged swords, isn't it?
Yeah, so if you're not out there practicing your social skills, you are not going to get better at your social skills.
But at the same time, you've got people who are just... I mean, I know it's the hip thing now, isn't it? Everyone wants to be introverted. Everyone says they're introverted and they don't really know what the word means. But, you have individuals who are genuinely introverted and who really dislike, interacting with other humans as a regular person would. And for them, I think that gaming is that sort of, I can communicate with anyone over the world. And for some people, it's really easy to communicate through a headset than it is in person. Some people really struggle to strike up conversations, but if they're in a headset in a lobby, they'll not have any problems.
Or quite often they'll find it easy to chat shit.
That too. But I mean, I've known individuals who can be the most confident person in the world, but if you ask them to, say, call for a doctor's appointment, they'll freeze and they'll not be able to do it. And they'll have to psych themselves up to make that phone call. And that's just really bizarre to me, because, you get people who are so confident and so good at talking to people and striking up conversations, and yet something like that, they just freeze. It's just, I don't know, it's just something that there's something different about them being on the phone or them being in a lobby that just somehow makes you behave differently.
True. I mean, I never used to be a fan of phone calls.
No.
We can't see people. Quite often I like to be able to see the person I'm talking to. If it's someone I don't know.
Well, that's the thing as well, isn't it?
I want the visual feedback.
Remember when you'd be, I don't know, it'd be Christmas, and the landline would get brought over to you with the cord, and you'd be, go say hello to Grandma, go say hello to Granddad, and you'd be stuck on the phone with them on the landline for about 20 minutes.
No, it's just horrible.
And you'd be telling them what presents you got. You'd be going through. They'd ask you like, what socks did you get? What games did you get? And but the phone was always better than in person. Give him a kiss, give him a hug. That was always monumentally worse. That was monumentally worse. And the old. Why would they spit on handkerchiefs and wipe your face? You're actually making it dirtier. What are you doing? Why was that a thing? Why was that a thing? Like,
I don't know.
That was just like a generation thing that
makes me think, oh, you're dirty, let me just spit on you. That's sort of like, oh, are you crying, are you? I'll give you a reason to cry. It's like, well, you're just compounding the problem.
Well, that was the thing as well. I got told that numerous times. Oh, I'll give you something to cry about. And it's like, well, why would you think that's a solution to this? That's the opposite of a solution to this problem.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not sure how relevant it is to games, but I certainly experienced that occasionally.
Oh God, yeah. I think though that kids these days, if you are spending a lot of time on games, it's not necessarily a terrible thing. I mean, I don't know about you, but if it was sunny outside, I wouldn't be allowed on the computer. I'd be told to go outside and play. But then I also think
it wasn't really a thing for me because at that age I didn't have a computer.
Well, that's because you're ancient.
Yeah, I think my dad had bought an Atari. And it doesn't matter how new and exciting they are. There's only so long you can play Pong before you think this is just boring. I'm going outside.
But I think
didn't really have. I mean, if I grew up now with the games that are available now, as a kid, would I want to go outside? God no. Games now are hours and hours and hours and hours of gameplay. When I was young, I mean, Horace went skiing on the Spectrum. You could play that for about an hour at most before you either completed it or you just went insane.
Yeah.
I can't play it anymore. I have to go out. Whereas now it's just like, like Minecraft, just one more block.
Yeah.
Like any RPG where you've got leveling. I'll just get one more level in whatever skill. I just get one more. Oh, I'm about to level that. I only need 100 XP. Okay, I'll get that. But while getting that, you get a bit more experience in something else, and that's nearly about to level. Oh, I just get that one. It's hours and hours of gameplay. I would not want to leave my house if I was a child playing games now.
Well, that's the thing. I think as well that these days kids don't really play outside as much as they used to. Whether that's because parents are a lot more careful, I think.
I think that's part of it. I mean, it was much safer when I was 6 or 7. I was getting on my bike and cycling,
absolutely
5 miles to the next village to play with my mate. My mum, where are you off to? Oh, I'm just going to cycle to the next village. It's like 5.5 miles away. Yeah, I'm going to go and play with Simon or Jay or something.
Yeah,
off I go.
Bye. Be back by 9 or or sunset, or by tea time.
Tea time was the one. Unless you were having tea with them, tea time was the one. Be back by tea time.
Yeah, be back by tea time.
Back for unless you're staying for dinner, and then make sure you're allowed to stay. Don't just assume.
Yeah, that's the thing as well. Yeah. But I mean, I'd be down the brook, in the nettles.
Yeah, I'd be out in the woods.
Yeah,
we all have our bikes.
Absolutely. And I think kids these days don't really have that, and I think that's lots of what's missing, because that's character building. Yeah,
let's go down the woods as an 8-year-old nowadays. Oh, where's my son? Been kidnapped.
Right. I mean, these are things that I don't know if it was a case of because the internet wasn't really a thing, we weren't in this state of perpetual fear this is going to.
It was still happening.
That's the thing, but because we didn't hear about it, we just assumed everything was fine.
You weren't aware of it all.
Yeah, everything was fine.
But then again, and nowadays you've got like, a 12-year-old. Oh, they were killed. Who killed them? Oh, a 14-year-old. It's not like some predatory man or something. It's like, no, just another kid killed them. It's like, what? I
Yeah,
never heard of that happening when I was younger.
yeah, yeah. And that also brings us on to another topic about video games and violence, in the sense that everyone for so many years, even today, reckons some experts reckon that they do cause violence and they do expose children to unnatural, states. I mean, some Navy SEAL doesn't let his kids play GTA because it exposes them to violence and drugs and crime in general. And he thinks that it will genuinely, really, it'll genuinely affect him going out and actually growing up, and maybe he'll take that exposure and maybe he wants to actually try it for real and all these things. And of course, people who have played video games since like people who play video games forever, almost like me and you, know that it's nonsense. I've never played Red Dead Redemption and then thought, I want to go out into the winter and shoot a bear, because that's the most stupidest thing I could ever think to do. Firstly, I'd lose.
Yeah, I kind of say that appeals to me. Yeah.
I mean, I'd lose quite badly. Let's be honest here. I mean, I'm a squishy human, and they're a bloody bear. Like, and I think that a lot of, I mean, was that a thing for you growing up? Video games cause violence?
No, I mean, games were one. They certainly weren't realistic.
That's the thing, isn't it? Yeah. Once you get, oh my god, do you remember the Modern Warfare 2 mission?
Pac-Man never made me want to go out and run down the street, eating all the dots I could find and getting chased by ghosts, because it's just...
Unless you were hallucinating.
Unless I was hallucinating,
which could have been a real thing.
It possibly could have. There was quite a lot of fields around where I used to grow up growing magic mushrooms, so it could have easily been a thing.
Magic mushrooms, opium, if you've got poppies.
There was no opium growing around where I was.
No?
Magic mushrooms everywhere. Oh god, Cornwall just full of magic mushrooms all over the place. People used to get bin bags of them.
Somehow that explains
Literally.
A lot.
No, I wasn't a magic mushroom taker. I wasn't when I was younger. No drugs, no alcohol.
No, best behaviour.
It didn't appeal to me. Never saw the appeal in it.
But I remember when the Modern Warfare 2 mission came out, and it really, really took the world by storm. Because I don't know if you've ever played it or if you've ever seen it, but it's the mission where the Russians stage a false flag attack at a Moscow airport by basically gunning down all these civilians. And you have to physically walk through the airport slowly with a light machine gun, pressing the trigger, shooting civilians as they're running away, they're screaming, etc. So you're effectively committing a terrorist attack on this airport. The premise is that they're Russians, but they say, remember, no Russian, because they're Americans. They're pretending to be Americans committing this false flag attack. And it absolutely made everybody lose their minds. There are news reports about it. It was on CNN. It was on the BBC. It was on ABC. It was on everywhere. Australia. Even in places like India and others, it was just, this is like a horrific thing that they'd ever seen in a video game. Like, you can physically kill all these civilians, and, should children be playing these things? Is it going to make them want to go and kill civilians and all these stuff? And all I could think was, no. Yeah. Why would anyone?
I think anyone that gets that sort of feeling has an underlying problem already.
Yeah.
I've played all sorts of games, and not one of them has made me ever even consider going and doing it in real life. Driving games do not make me want to go and drive like a twat. Shooting games do not make me want to shoot people. If anything, they make me want to shoot people less.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
It's like, oh my God, I just shot that man and I just watched his head blow up. And then I think, oh, imagine if I did that in real life. That would be, that'd be horrible. That makes me want to do it less.
Yeah, it's terrific. And sometimes you get people who play GTA and then actually obey the rules of the road. You get people who will actually sit in traffic. You know,
I do for quite a while. I can't sit in traffic. I can't sit in the traffic.
But that's what you
quite
get.
A while. I always like, can I drive? How long can I drive before I start? Oh no, don't.
You know,
how long can I go before I don't commit a crime?
And I think that's the opposite that doesn't really get talked about. You know, and I can understand if you're a parent and you're worried about, you know, potentially influencing your children in ways, because of course we were all told, you know, don't show your kids scary films or really gory films. I mean, I remember when I was
understand.
Well, I remember when I was, I think I was about 8 or 9, and my dad was watching the original RoboCop. And it's the scene with the shotguns where they basically just obliterate this man. And I was watching it through
right in the beginning when they were actually shooting RoboCop.
Possibly. Yeah. Yes. Actually, yes. It probably was. It probably was.
They shoot his hand off and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I'm watching through the corner of the door, the crack of the door, because obviously I wasn't allowed in the room to watch it. But I was watching the crack of the door, and that is still with me now. So I don't know. So whether that's actually evidence of some sort of psychological effect it does have on children, I don't know.
I mean, how has that affected you though?
It's made me. It hasn't made me want to go and shoot someone's hand off. So
no, it's if anything, it's probably made you think this is horrible. I don't want to see this happen in real life.
Yeah, and I think
has it given you any mental problems? Do you find that you're like going down the street and you go, oh my God,
yeah, it's walk past. It's like I see like the shimmer of steel, and it just triggers me a little bit. You know.
Yeah, I watched Aliens. I watched Aliens when it came out. So I was about 10, and that was pretty bloody scary when I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That freaked me out big time. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Now I watch it now and it's just like, boring.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of horror films now. It's just like, boring.
I think
it
I
hasn't
saw
got a good story, just not interesting. I think that's why a lot of horror films have gone onto this absolutely gross out psychological stuff like Human Centipede and Tusk and stuff like that, because it's about the thoughts behind it.
I think a lot of it's shock factor as well these days.
Yeah, everyone's come immune. It's like, oh yeah, another scary monster running around a dark place. How scary! It's like, oh yeah, okay. What about if I sewed your face to someone's ass? It's like, oh right, yeah, that's a bit creepy. Yeah, tell me that one.
But I saw a tweet that was viral, and it was this guy with his son was basically saying, all these scary films aren't actually scary. Give me a real scary film. Because obviously his son's watching all these like 15s or 12As who, you know, they're not actually that scary. So he's like, okay. I let my son watch The Descent, which is, if you've not seen it, it's basically a sort of cave system where humans have ended up evolving down there, and they're like these monsters that eat people. And these cavers get lost in there essentially, and they get eaten. And he lets his 8-year-old son watch The Descent. And the tweet basically goes, so, you know, as a parent, when you think, that was a mistake when I do something, this one was definitely one of them. Because as soon as he did it, his son was just traumatized.
Nightmares every night.
Utterly traumatized. But I think we've all been there, haven't we? Especially as a child, you've all been there going, no, oh, you think you know better than the parent when you really don't.
Oh yeah.
And
But, I mean, it can happen. It can happen from watching. I mean, I watch Paranormal Activity.
Well, Paranormal
As an
Activity
adult.
broke the mold, didn't it?
And
It was a completely new
scare
style.
me at all. I wasn't scared. It wasn't like, this is really scary. Didn't scare me at all. Yet, I still find sometimes, if I'm in bed and my foot is poking out the bed, sometimes my brain goes, put the foot back in. It's
Yeah.
not always, just sometimes it goes, remember that film? Yeah, put the foot back in. And as soon as I think that, it's like, I have to put my foot back in the bed.
Yeah.
How ridiculous is that?
Yeah.
I mean, it does affect you.
I think it's one of those sort of just any film or game that taps into that sort of primeval, fear of the dark,
your instincts.
or just your instincts in general, does better
dark is-
than even the dark though.
But dark is a long time ago. Dark is death, and it could even be as simple as something you fall over and cut yourself and get an infection. That's death.
Yeah.
Before antibiotics,
Yeah.
that would probably be death.
So it makes sense that we're afraid of the dark, because
That's
the
not
dark.
even counting all the terrifying animals that can be in the dark. That's just you falling over.
But well, yeah. I mean, even today, if my landing's dark, I could trip over my dog. I could go over the banister, like,
You'd have to be pretty stupid to go over the banister, but it'd be possible.
But you could though. I mean, how many people? How many of the elderly fall down the stairs every year?
I mean, at the moment, generally, if I'm walking around, I don't bother turning lights on. But I don't just charge around like stupidly. I know where the stairs are. I know there's 10 stairs down, blah, blah, blah. And I don't have a young child leaving things on the stairs.
Yep.
Which would be a very different situation.
I tell you what, though, when your foot still thinks there's an extra step and there isn't, you do still get that little stroke.
Oh, you do. That's. I have a habit of counting stairs. I think it's a mild OCD thing. So I generally know how many stairs there are everywhere.
But it'll still get you. It'll still make you jump.
Because I go down the stairs and I'm like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Well, that's
10,
just
bottom.
weird. Let's be honest there.
Well, it's because I walk around in the dark. It's to be safe.
Well, I mean, walking around in the dark isn't safe. So, like,
there's no snakes. There's no snakes or poisonous spiders in my house. There's no one leaving stuff everywhere.
but how do you know if it's dark? You don't know that.
There could be ghosts and monsters. You are right.
You know,
Ghosts like the dark.
This is like saying, oh, well, there isn't a murder in my house. Oh, how do you know? Oh, I just don't look at them. Like, oh, okay.
Then the advantage is I always walk around in the dark, whereas the murderer probably doesn't. So I have the advantage. It's my house. It's dark. I know where everything is. If he wants to chase me through my house in the dark, he better have night vision goggles on, because I know where the kitchen is. I know where the knives are.
Yep.
He doesn't know where he's chasing me.
That might work. I mean, have you ever played any horror games?
Yeah, a few. And again, unless it's got a really good story or something, I'm just not that interested in them.
I think I played the original Resident Evils, but they were very much a case of go here, door is locked. No, it was go here, door is locked, find key. Okay, go to this room, get the key for that door, open that door. Here is a key for another door, and it was just a lot of that. It was just a lot of go to this door. This is locked. Go and find the key.
That doesn't appeal to me.
No, and that's a lot of what they were. But of course, the most recent game.
There'd be a jump scare every now and then.
Oh yeah. Of course, there'd be a jump scare.
Which you become anaesthetized to pretty quickly.
Yes, because back then they were always scripted. So they were so you knew that this is the spot they were going to appear. It wasn't random like the games now. I mean, the newest game, Village, of course, has the very sultry and potentially attractive Lady Dimitrescu, who
whatever she's called.
Whatever she's called.
It's a hard name. It's a hard name to pronounce. Do you mean that giant 8 foot tall chunky vampire woman?
She's a very thick lady. She's a very thick lady for sure.
It's huge.
And but that's the thing though. Is that really a horror game? Is that really in the spirit of a horror game? Like, I don't think I'm that scared if I'm potentially gonna get chased by this woman and think, I mean, if I get caught, whoa, worse things have happened. She's
not. She's gonna kill you.
Yeah, but
she's not gonna suddenly go. When it comes down to it, all I want to do is have a relationship with you.
Yeah, but
that's not gonna happen.
But you hold out hope though. You hold out hope. We're blokes. We're blokes.
Her daughters were nicer.
A couple of them. Yeah.
But even then, they're just vampires.
But that's the thing. Like, I've got lots of blood. It replenishes. No, they can just have a nibble.
Okay, so they're coming up to you going, we want to suck your... You suck my what, sorry?
Excuse me, beg your pardon. Have you actually ever... It's funny because I've actually been to Dracula's Castle in Romania.
Transylvania.
Yeah, it's a sub-region. And Dracula's Castle is miserable. Like, it's really gothic, it's really uncolourful. It's a real thing. It's a real castle.
I don't think many castles are colourful.
And well, here's the thing. But opposite him is this like palace looking castle that's really pretty and really like the architecture's phenomenal. It was colourful. There's like awnings and flags and all these things. And all I could think was, no wonder he went crazy. Waking up every morning, going on your castle balcony, thinking I've got a castle, looking across and thinking, oh, that guy's out again.
That's the keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it? Looking across at the neighbours, going, oh, look what they've got now. I need one of them.
Yeah. It's no wonder he went crazy. The guy was
so stressed out trying to keep up with him.
Yeah, and he ended up putting people on heads, heads on spikes.
Vlad Teeps, wasn't he? Vlad Teeps.
He was, yeah. I think that was actually his name.
Tepes. And Tepes.
Something like that.
Yeah, Vlad the Impaler.
But that's what he did. He was a real bloke, and I actually went to the place.
Around impaling people.
And he really went about impaling people. He really did.
Yeah.
And I think if we were to play a game where, I'm actually scared. So, for example, I've been playing Subnautica recently. Now, Subnautica...
I've never played it, but I've seen playthroughs of it.
Yeah, and I don't like the ocean. So, firstly, I don't know why I'm playing the game in the first place.
Creeps me out a bit. What's under the sea? Ooh, what's that brushing against me?
Exactly that sort of thought that feeling
process. Of helplessness.
Yeah, that feeling of... If I don't have land,
if you're in water.
Well, that's the thing. We're not born for water. We to be fair, we're not even born very well for land, let alone water. Like, the only reason we're good at we're top of the food chain is because we just became better at killing things than everything else. I mean, we don't have
technology.
Yeah, we don't have claws. We don't have armor. We're very squishy.
Don't need claws when you can invent a bow and arrow.
Yeah, simple as that. Simple as that. But I mean, we're not
we were capable of outrunning almost any animal. That's how we would get our food. You just chase the deer, and the deer would be like, ha ha ha! I can run at 40 miles an hour, and the man would just be behind going, yep, but I can run for fucking days.
Well, that's true. That's
and they
true.
Would just run and like marathon runners, and the deer would just fall down exhausted and die, and we go, right, that's mine.
Yep. Or they'd chase a mammoth off a cliff.
Chase the mammoth off the cliff.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I think oceans, we're not built for them at all.
Well, we don't have gills. I mean, that's one sure sign we're not supposed to be hanging around in them.
We
don't have flippers.
Well, the thing is, when I play Subnautica, for me, that's a horror game. So it's not a traditional horror game, but for me...
Taps into something you don't like.
It absolutely terrifies me. There's certain areas where... I remember that there's spoilers, if anyone's listening.
Or the running out of oxygen while trapped in an underwater cave.
That is one of them, which is absolutely horrific.
Claustrophobia.
In the dark, where you can't see, you don't know the way out, it's horrific.
Yeah.
But there's a bit
Claustrophobia.
where behind the ship, because so this ship has crashed on this ocean planet, and behind the ship is the first time you ever go in there. I was going in with my little sea glide. It's just me. I'm not in like a ship or anything. There's a roar from the deep, and I'm like, what on earth is this? And then a leviathan comes out of the deep and tries to eat me. I have never, in 10 years of playing video games, well, since of the recent 10 years, obviously I've been playing for much longer than that, but at least in 10 years, I have never been so scared playing a game. Like, it really triggered me. It really triggered.
It's got this primal sounds, though, hasn't it? Well, that primal,
like gurgling roar that just went through me, and I was just like, I've got to get out of here. I've got to get out of here. This is horrific. And then it comes out of the dark as well, which is the worst thing. So you don't even see it coming.
Yeah, you've got a lot of things. You've got big animal. You've got dark. You've got lack of oxygen. You've got claustrophobia. You've got a lot of things at once.
It absolutely just destroyed me. And I think games like that do a lot better at being scary than games like Resident Evil, where you play them knowing that, okay, there's going to be a villain and they're going to be like zombies and all these things. Whereas...
Well, that's a game that says to you, I'm going to scare you. And so you sort of say, oh, go on then. Try.
Yes. And I think there's something about playing a game like that where it takes away the realism, because as soon as you see a zombie, you sort of go, okay, that's not really realistic. It's a zombie. Whereas,
what's one of the most scary things that happened to you on Minecraft when we went to the water temple and you had the
thing appear in my face.
Out in your face, because it doesn't happen anywhere else in the game. It's completely different to everything else in the game. But just suddenly, jump scare right in your face.
And I think that was the same reason why the Blair Witch Project was so scary when it came out, because it wasn't a fantasy film.
A lot of people thought it was real as well.
Well, that's what I mean. So just like Subnautica taps into something real and tangible that you're scared of, as a human, psychologically, you're afraid of running out of oxygen. You're afraid of larger animals than you. You're afraid of being in the water when you're not supposed to be in the water because you're not a waterborne animal. Whereas playing Resident Evil, it's zombies and vampires, and you're just like, oh, it's fantasy, and so you're still scared, but you're scared in a different way. And I
know this is going to happen.
Yes,
I am waiting for it to happen.
And I think the film, comparing like a scary horror film with demons and stuff, compared to Blair Witch, where Blair Witch there's no fantasy. It's just real. It's just or it's supposed to be.
Do you actually see the witch in Blair Witch?
No. You don't see anything. It's all filmed via the camera, and it's all in like night vision, and it's
first found footage, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all like crying, snotty, but it's that genuine fearness that you see.
It's watching people experience fear, which makes you think, oh God, and that brings your fear up.
Yep.
Like if you had a pack of dogs and one dog starts whining and the others are like, oh, what's happened to him?
Yep, same thing. And I think that's what really works as like a horror film. And I think the same thing works in horror games. I think, like, I don't know. I don't know what generic things that humans are afraid of. If you put them in a game, and like plane crashes, completely irrational. The amount of planes that land and take off every single day around the world makes a plane crash almost negligible in terms of likability.
They are pretty much the statistically safest way to fly.
Yes, it's almost statistically impossible to be in a plane crash. There are that many.
And to be honest, at the speed that most people drive, if you did have a car crash, you're probably fucked anyway.
Well, yeah, plane crash, car crash, either way. And I think that games like that are also, because they tap into something real, they have that extra sort of fear in them.
I think the fear of plane crash is the fact that it takes so long.
What sort of when
the car crash is probably instant. You're probably going along, da 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 da, bang,
dead,
or injured or whatever, and there isn't that build-up time. You don't get panicked. You're not like, oh my god, there's a car a mile away. I can see it coming. You don't get because it's like, well, if you've got that much time to panic, you just move out of the way.
Yeah.
Whereas a plane, the captain comes on and says, we've lost all our engines, we're going to crash. And you're like, oh no. But we're not going to crash for at least 3 or 4 minutes, because that's how long it's going to take us to hit the ground. So you've got all of that time to panic. You're like, oh my god.
We're 30,000 feet.
4 minutes of panic time. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like fear of heights, falling out of a building. You don't just get hit by a bus and die or get injured or wake up in hospital. You've got all of that fall to go, perfectly conscious of what's going to happen to you when you hit the bottom.
Although having said that, I think, for example, if we take September 11, for example,
that's horrible.
Individuals jumping out of buildings would have been...
Well, that's your choice of burning to death or hitting the ground.
Well, yeah, firstly, terrible choice. But I think
I know.
A few scientists said that they'd have fell so fast that they'd have passed out before they hit the ground.
You've still got a long time. It's long enough.
Yeah.
But I don't think you would really... I don't know how much of a choice you've got. I mean, what sort of person would you have to be strong enough to stand there and just go, I'm not going to run away from the fire. I will just let it come to me and burn me. Outside the window, it doesn't matter if the floor is 20 stories away. Outside the window, there is no fire.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could stand in the room and just say, okay, I don't want to burn, but I don't want to fall. I'll stand here and burn. I don't think you get to choose. I think you just jump out the window, don't you?
I think.
Imagine once that fire starts getting to like your arms and your arms start burning and stuff like that. And can you just stand there?
That's the thing. I think it's like drowning, isn't it? Your brain goes, hang on a minute, we need to move. You know, it's like if you ever held your breath in a swimming pool for as long as possible, your brain tells you we need to breathe now. Like, you can't get over that mental block most times.
You can't stop yourself from breathing.
No, because your brain just goes...
You can't hold your breath till you go unconscious.
No, it's impossible. It's impossible. And I think that would probably be the same brain process in that situation, where the brain would just go survivability, but also less pain, you know?
I think it's the less pain thing. The pain is immediate. The pain is there.
Yeah, and there is no pain
over
pain. There.
Deal with it later. Remove pain now.
Yep.
Now, what's number 2 on the list? Oh yes, learn to fly. Shit.
Yeah, that's a steep learning curve, that one. That really is.
For a short amount of time. Yeah. It's absolutely horrible to have that choice. That would be a horror movie for me. That would be an absolute horror movie.
Absolutely.
If it was a VR thing and like here comes the fire and I can feel it getting hot. No, this is horrible. I don't want to play this game.
Well, speaking of VR, have you ever played VR? Have you ever experienced it?
Yeah, I've played a few. They're all right.
They're not really. I think maybe 10 years from now they'll be really good. But I think where we're at now, they're not really up to stuff. You know, they're not really up to the sort of quality.
I think it's a good novelty.
Absolutely. A bit like when the Wii came out. The Wii was great for like family nights. If you were having a few drinks, you know, you'd take turns on the bowling or the tennis, you know, and you'd play the Wii, and it'd be great. And I think stuff like that, family night with the VR headset, and maybe they're doing the old balancing on the plank on the sky rise, or they're doing things.
I think You'd have to have it on the TV as well, so the people around you can watch.
Well, yes, exactly. That sort of group experience. Things like that, great for. Really, really fun. For a single player, I want to play a game in VR. Probably not.
I mean, I would. I mean,
But what kind of
Minecraft in
game would you
VR,
play?
pretty cool,
You wouldn't be able
but
to
the
do.
controls.
Well, yeah. I mean, you wouldn't be able to do.
Driving.
FIFA.
I think driving and airplane sims are probably two of the best sort of that converge.
Because you're stationary.
Because you're sitting down stationary already, and you're getting that immersive experience. I think those could work pretty well.
Yeah.
Those are probably the ones I'm going to play. Anything where you're running, but you're just pressing a button to run, that feels a bit odd.
Yeah.
I know it's exactly the same as what you do on a keyboard anyway, but to be in VR and be standing still
and pressing a button to run. Yeah.
Pressing a button, just that discrepancy is enough to make it sort of.
It breaks the immersion as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It breaks the immersion.
And although they do have some reasonably impressive, like Omni treadmill things now, but that puts me down into the mood of, well, if I'm going to play a game, I don't want to go running.
No, now I'm working out, and I didn't want to work out. I wanted to play a game.
Well, on the other hand, I might sometimes think, hey, I'm going to work out. I'll use my VR Omni treadmill thing, and that'd be quite cool. But generally, if I'm playing a game, I don't want to have to be sprinting.
But then that becomes a dedicated gym machine rather than a game. It becomes
I mean, it's certainly good. It's got advantages. Instead of just sitting in a chair, bad posture, hours each day, you're actually up and doing a bit of running.
Well, I mean, there's things like gym bikes and treadmills now that have screens on them that show you a path, and as you run, you actually follow the path, and you go through the woods or whatever.
Yeah, I like
trail.
that idea.
And those are cool. So I definitely think there's definitely utility for VR in that sense.
Oh yeah. And they've got the advantage of you've been running for an hour, and you think, oh, I'm tired now. I'll go home and have a shower. You don't have to run an hour back. You just get off the treadmill.
Yes, and but I think that the ability to buy a PC and buy a console is space, isn't it? The fact that you need the space and the headset and the area and the power to run it really is going to limit the actual amount of people who can do that. And I just think that until that gets sorted, we're not going to see VR really in the sense that
I think space will stay as the main one, because look how much cheaper VR is now. How much were the headsets when they first started coming out? They were like, weren't they £3,000 and stuff?
Something insane, yeah. I mean, I can't.
How much are they now? They've got to be under 1,000. I don't know, 300, 800. I'm just randomly picking numbers.
I think I'm not sure what the Oculus was most recently.
That's a huge drop.
Yeah.
And a computer to run it. Yeah, now that's getting cheaper and cheaper. So space is the thing. Is the price of space in your house is only going up.
In today's economy, yeah,
It's going up.
Yeah,
Space costs more.
Costs more.
And to be fair, if you've got a small living room, how do you make it bigger? You can't just go, knock down the wall and extend it a few feet. Even if you've got the money, most people can't do that anyway, because they don't have anything outside to extend into.
No, that's the thing. That's the thing. You can't be like, hello, neighbour.
People will definitely use it. I think VR will really kick off when it's combined with something like a Neuralink.
I am inclined to agree.
That's when it'll just be, okay, this is insane.
Yeah.
That's until then, I just, maybe just for me, because I don't want to be running on the treadmill. I don't care how amazing it is. If I'm playing the game, I don't want to be going, oh God, I'm halfway through level 1 on this platform game. I gotta stop playing. I'm knackered.
No, I agree.
Or I've just been working for 10 hours and I get home and I'm shattered and I think, I wouldn't mind chilling out playing a game. Okay, right, strap on all the gear, put it all on, hang myself in the little Omni treadmill, which, maybe it's anti-gravity, so you don't even feel it. Now I'll start running. It's like, no, I've been working 10 hours. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
But
agree.
if you could have the stuff sort of fed into your brain, fed straight into your optic nerve, which you should be able to do. No reason why you can't. It's just your optic nerve receptors being stimulated. That's all.
Hmm.
No reason
Hmm.
why you can't do that.
And I think,
Getting the output is the harder thing. But with
yeah,
something like a Neuralink, how many controls do you need? I mean, they've got those things where you strap a headset to a monkey and it plays Pong. So it's got an up and a down. That's 2 commands. That's 2 keys it's got.
yep, yep. It's
Something like a
definitely going to
Neuralink.
be the long term thing, isn't it? You know that
Yeah.
it's going to have to make that adjustment because otherwise people are just priced out right now. People are just priced out in the market.
But then I'll be in for a bit of virtual reality world when it's like that, just strap on your little thing, boop, it connects to your implant.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm in a magic world.
It'll be like Cyberpunk, but with actually less bugs.
Yeah, with less bugs.
Mm.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I
Well,
think
the first thing it would do, it would be chat rooms and stuff, wouldn't it? It'd be like a 3D Facebook. Where
yeah,
you'd be loads of people hanging out, and you could send messages to each other and emails to each other, and memes to each other. Like a virtual reality Discord, Second Life, that sort of thing.
yeah, for sure, for sure. But I think that's talk of the future is a good way to sign off sort of state of gaming in 2022. That's
True. We started with the state of gaming in 2022. We went through films, theaters. We've ended up with gaming in the future.
and now we've ended up with gaming in the future. Maybe that'll be the state of gaming 2032. We don't know.
That's true. That is true.
You know?
Yeah, you'll be plugged into our virtual reality lobby.
Yeah.
And we'll be sitting there on our virtual reality stage having a chat.
Yeah, and you guys won't be
won't be.
able to leave. That's what it'll be.
Yeah, we'll lock you in.
That's what it'll be.
I wonder. See, I would not want to get on a stage in front of thousands of people and do that. Would it feel the same in virtual reality to sit on a stage in virtual reality in front of virtual people? I wonder if that would feel the same for me.
That's the question.
I wonder if that would feel the same. That's odd. On a stage, hey, we're going to put 2 chairs on the stage. Me and you are going to talk in front of 1,000 people. I'm going to no, it's not happening. I don't care. I don't care what you give me to do that. I am not doing it. Or unless you said something like £500,000, it'd be like, okay, I don't care how scared off for that money, I'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
If it was VR, that wouldn't be so scary. That would be, I can do that.
Well, maybe that's the way things get. Maybe that's the way that the introverts we spoke about earlier, who only communicate in game lobbies confidently. Maybe that's the way to get them out of their shell and things like that.
We'll all be born. We'll just be fired out into a little pod, and we'll just grow in a pod, and everything will be online.
Yep, that's the way. So the Matrix, basically.
Yeah. That's a stupid film. I love it, but absolutely stupid.
Yeah.
What's the point of using people to get their bloody heat from their body when it'd be far easier just to have killed them all and used the sun? Stupid bloody machines. The worst premise ever.
Right. Well, on that note,
let's end it there. Yeah.
If you guys have any other thoughts about this, let us know in the comments. If you want to give us any topics for next time to talk about, also leave them in the comments. Don't forget to. Weird is good.
Doesn't matter what they are. We'll look through them.
Make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed it, a dislike if you didn't. And don't forget to subscribe.
But a bit of constructive criticism as well, though, rather than just that, don't like it.
Yeah, of course. Constructive criticism is always good.
Yeah. And I think answers along the lines of, it's not my thing, that's perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely. But I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for tuning in. And any sort of parting words, Inferno?
No, not really. I've had a nice time. Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely. We will see you in the next one. Let's go have a drink.